And now for my final just thought. Tell me your kinks.
That's provocative.
No, that's pretty funny. You know what the fuck I do. Hello and welcome to DreamHack Tonight and this edition of Indie Heartbeat. It is a launch week for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, so there's a lot of content coming out, but we're actually really excited to talk about this game, and we're going to be bringing in Patrick Quah from Giant Squid Studios to talk about the Pathless. Why don't we show you a clip real quick? And welcome back. I'm here along with Kyle, and let's introduce Patrick. How are you, Patrick?
I'm good. Yeah, hanging in there. How are you guys?
Pretty good. Kyle, how you been, man?
Doing well. I mean, it froze outside pretty hard last night, so it feels like not March anymore to a certain extent. So that's nice.
Nice. We got outer bands of a hurricane hitting Orlando, so happy to always stay home. But yeah, so Patrick, excited to have you on. This week, you are launching Pathless.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a spiritual successor to Abzu, but same team that developed that as well. How did you guys come up with the idea of this kind of open world exploration, but also fast-pacing mechanic shooting and lighting up areas of the map? How did you kind of come up with all that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of been a journey through a bunch of different iterations and stuff. But early on, we knew we wanted to make a big open world game. We wanted to do this sort of immersive, like beautiful environment, but we kind of didn't want players to get removed from that and look at maps or anything. So we wanted to kind of focus on the environment, on the world, and always kind of keep players like in the moment. And so we had this idea to make an open world game where it's actually really fun to traverse from like point A to point B. So instead of opening a map and like picking a point and then just making a beeline for it, players have to actually look at landmarks and like remember where they are and get up high to get a vantage point of the land. And also, we wanted to make it as fun as possible to get to that point once you've decided where you're going. And so fluid movement was just always a huge goal for us. And you can kind of chain, all of your sort of jumping, gliding, flying, and sprinting throughout the world to get this almost like parkour-like movement as you kind of jump around through the forests and sky. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, like I said, the fast pace looks amazing to me. It's kind of a different take. And we see there's a bunch of maps behind you, but this game is more about a minimal HUD experience with no mini map or anything like that. Kind of tell us your fascination with maps and then how you kind of hope players will kind of explore this world out of the gate, not knowing where, obviously they'll have their objectives, but kind of like, why no mini maps? Why is it very minimal? And,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, the irony of standing in front of a wall of maps, talking about a game with no maps is not lost on me. That's just a personal collection. But, Giant Squid making the Pathless, we felt like anytime a player had to open up a map or look at some piece of unnecessary like HUD, like inventories, maps, etc., it was pulling them out of the world. And so because we put our art team has put so much love and attention into building a world that you can actually sort of traverse by using actual architecture and natural vistas as landmarks. We wanted to really emphasize that. And not go for like fast travel or anything, or just being able to put map markers down. We wanted to kind of just avoid that sort of unlocking of areas by looking at a top-down view of the world and actually get you on the ground level. And to help that, we actually have a feature in the game where you can use this spirit mask to peer into like the spirit realm. And as you do that, you can kind of see little traces of secrets and little bits of magic in the world that you might be drawn to. And so that kind of just highlights actual physical things in the world around you as you look around, rather than placing like a marker on a map.
Right.
That's fascinating. I love that there's no map, because like you've talked about so far, it disengages you from what's going on in front of you. And when you do that, it's amazing how subtle it is, because you feel like you're still in the game, but you're not playing that game anymore. You're just using a menu, and it's not actually playing the game that I feel like most developers would want people to play their game. But you can spend so much time immersed in that map trying to plot out and make sure you're doing the right thing. But if you just live in the moment in that game, there's so much to be experienced, along with the rest of the development that's gone into this wonderful experience of moving around this beautiful environment that you guys have created so far. It looks absolutely incredible. But what were some of the inspirations that led you there? I mean, all those maps on the wall over there led you to no mini map at some point. So like your inspirations must just be completely off the wall for this one.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, I think Breath of the Wild is a big inspiration for all open world games that have come since, right? I mean, it's kind of like a big touchstone for just really amazingly well done open world design. But we wanted to kind of make our own unique experience and like make something that stood on its own and was super different. We didn't want to use a lot of the open world tropes of like mini maps and fast travel and like towers that unlock areas of the map and stuff. We wanted to just kind of go our own way and try and make an open world game with like the Giant Squid design sensibilities of like focusing on connection and fluid movement and atmosphere. And that's hopefully what we've managed to pull off. I think that we find players are often really invested in the actual world around them, and moving from like one point in the world to another physically, actually having to do that rather than like watching the HUD or watching a map. They find more secrets, they find more puzzles along the way, and there's a lot of stuff to uncover, like little snippets of lore and story just hidden all throughout the world. So getting to actually uncover those secrets diegetically as you're like walking through the forests or the plains is really cool, as opposed to just kind of focusing on the end goal. It's about the journey. It's about finding your own path.
Journey. I caught that reference.
That idea of keeping that fluid motion and keeping everyone immersed through the entire play experience is just so beautiful, and something that we don't see very often. So it sounds like you're going to be really proud if everyone feels that constant immersion whenever they're sitting down to play this game. But there's got to be a certain like hesitation of, are we ready for that kind of a fast-paced gameplay overall for an adventure game? Because you don't see that very often. So I feel like that's like a crowning achievement of all of this, is that if we can, as gamers, put ourselves in those shoes and move that fast and continue to be engaged, that you guys have done your jobs just beautifully at that point. Because I think it'll be a challenge, but it seems like you guys are on the right track with how just visually appealing this game is. And that alone makes me want to play it, just looking at how much there is to explore.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as far as that fluidity, though, you guys are releasing this game on PlayStation 4, 5, and Apple Arcade, which means it's going to be on iPads and iPhones and Apple TVs.
Yes.
And PC.
And PC. So when you're looking at the different control schemes there, what's it like creating a game that kind of spans all of those with this new kind of storytelling mechanic that you guys are developing?
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge for sure. Releasing simultaneously on all those platforms and being a launch title for PS5. It's been a long road. But I mean, I can talk a little bit about some of the things we're doing to make this experience sort of play well on every platform, right? So you talked about kind of the fluid movement, the fast-paced movement throughout the world. Something we really wanted to do was to, the main character is an archer. We wanted to make sure that the archery was always tied into the movement as well as, the fights and stuff. So something that you can do is, as you're traversing the world, you can actually make these archery shots that give you boosts of speed or bursts of height when you're gliding or flying. And that kind of helps you traverse throughout, some of the obstacles. But like, because you're always shooting, we knew we couldn't have the player have to like manually aim every time. So we've got a system that's actually kind of timing based for archery. So you auto target, but you have to time those shots perfectly to get the most out of them. And so in that sense, you can just kind of keep dashing or keep flying through and not worry as much about like kind of having to stop and move a reticle around to target stuff. You can just kind of keep that fluid motion even with your shooting with your bow. And that kind of translates through to a couple of unique aspects on different platforms. For example, on PS5, we're using the new controller to good use and getting that haptic feedback on the timing of those shots, so you can actually feel it. And so it removes even one more aspect of like having to watch stuff. Right, you just feel it at that point. You don't even need to like watch the reticles. You can just kind of feel when it's time to release that arrow. And then on iPhone and touchscreens, that's yeah, there it is. You got one. Nice. On iOS, touchscreens obviously are a big challenge for a lot of styles of game, right? You don't want to cover up the screen too much with UI or with like virtual analog sticks. So we removed all of that stuff. A lot of it is gesture based, and a lot of the UI will kind of fade into the corners, so you won't actually have to it won't take up any of the screen real estate that could otherwise be used for the beautiful architecture or the environment. And the archery and movement can actually be sort of the movement you can turn on auto run, and you can actually kind of just automate that, and then you just have to worry about steering and shooting. And so little things here and there that hopefully make it a little easier. We want to make sure that regardless of what platform you play on, you get the Pathless experience, right? We want you to make sure we want you to be completely immersed in that and feel that fluid movement and fluid motion. We don't want any awkward controls on any platform. So yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of actually extremely excited for the Apple Arcade, because this actually might be one of the killer apps for Apple Arcade. Sayonara Wild Hearts was a big one when that first came out, and then Longhorn, whatever that was. But with it coming out on launch week, right, you're up against a lot of competition, but you're covering multiple systems and everything. And Abzu was a very successful game. Do you think this was the right time to bring it out, like right off the gate? Did you need more time? Or were you stuck with a deadline to get it out by launch week?
I mean, we've been working on it for a long time now. We started pretty much immediately after Abzu and just went straight into this. It's been a few years now, and I think we're ready. It's gone through a lot of changes. It's gone through a lot of iterations, but we're really proud of where it's at right now. And yeah, we wanted to hit the PS5 launch for sure, because we're super excited about the hardware. We're super excited to just be in that lineup with all those other awesome games. And we hopefully, when people are picking up a PS5, they decide to give it a try. I think it's going to be something a little different from the rest of the launch lineup, something a little unique, and definitely very immersive. And like you'll get a good story from it too, which is going to be awesome, I think.
I love it. I mean, this game is one of the ones, like Alex said, that I'm super excited for on Apple Arcade, especially with Apple's new program coming out where arcade's more inclusive. Like, that's got to be a big push for how much this is going to really be out there for not just the hardcore gamers getting the PS5, but everybody that can play this game. I'm really excited to see what happens with it. But you are rounding out the development cycle for this game now. So normally that does come with a little bit of free time, right? Like you actually get a little bit of your life back over the past couple months. So I've heard that you like LARPing, and I know COVID in 2020 hasn't been the best for LARPing, but like tell us a little bit about like what you do there with LARPing and what you're going to be doing with your actual free time come post-launch. Yeah,
I mean, obviously COVID has stymied a lot of people's plans, and a lot of hobbies can't happen anymore, right? So in terms of LARP, none of that stuff's really going on anymore. because you gotta. I mean, I guess you could all wear masks and let's just stay really far away from each other. But yeah, I mean, that's not as much of a thing. I guess I'll probably spend some of my free time, doing more of the prop making and costume making that kind of goes along with LARP and just getting that stuff together. Playing D&D, tabletop stuff.
Nice.
You can do that on Zoom, and that's been a great way to fill that void. So
hasn't that just been amazing to see how we've taken D&D that used to be such an in-person game and just expanded it to everybody from everywhere, and the friend circle can expand even further, and you can just play more. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Makes me want to play the game of Risk, where it already took 3 hours in person. I can imagine. Hey, hold on, roll the. But back to the game and the development cycle. A lot of natural fits. You had Annapurna Interactive as publisher. Yeah. Austin Winery. You did mention the art director from Journey worked on this game as well, correct? Was that? Did it all just work together? Was this a part of Abzu's success, saying, "Hey, this is our next title"? Kind of tell us about the team behind this game.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, so Matt Nava is our creative director, and he was the art director on Journey. And he started Giant Squid as a way to kind of focus on more games with his distinct style and with that, with his design sensibilities and his particular art style, right? And Abzu was the first game that Giant Squid made, and it had the same pillars that we always kind of go for, right? So atmosphere, fluid movement, and then a real connection in the story, something that actually hopefully affects players in a kind of touching way. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do with the Pathless as well. Different world, different fluid movement system, but still both of those pillars, and then a really touching story that has that connection. Very early on, the hunter meets this eagle, and that sort of companionship, the bond between the hunter and the eagle in our game is kind of like the main focus of the story, and also informs some of the mechanics and stuff. And then Austin Wintory, you mentioned, amazing composer. He's been a longtime collaborator of our creative director Matt Nava. So those two are always happy to work together on any project. And yeah, Austin's come up with some amazing music for this game. And there's going to be a vinyl record out, so if you think vinyl sounds better and you want to grab one of those, that'll be available. So it's just really all come together amazingly. It's a lot of the team are sort of people who worked on Abzu and who worked on previous collaborations with Matt, but we've had to build out the team a lot for this game because it's so much bigger than anything we've done before. It's an open world game. It's much longer. It's just huge. So the team has grown a lot. We're still definitely indie. We're still a relatively small team, but yeah, it's definitely gotten bigger, and especially working remotely entirely, that's been a challenge, having to coordinate all that stuff.
Yeah, I actually just, as you can tell, I collect stuff. I started collecting vinyls, and then after the sixth one, I'm like, I have to really get up and change it out, flip slides after only 30 minutes. I'm like, you know what, going back to CDs and MP3s. But so thank you. Our last question for you is what's next for Giant Squid? I'm already thinking if this is successful, you can make DLC called the Pathless now with more paths. But what's kind of next for the team?
Yeah, I can't announce anything officially, but I can tell you that we're going to keep making games with those core tenets that we love, right? We're going to make more stories that have a real connection for the players, and always focusing on the beautiful art style and atmosphere and immersion. And you can expect more fluid movement systems. We're developing new IP, so we will have another game that will be in a completely new world, and it'll be a whole new experience. And look for that, I guess, in the next few years.
Yeah, awesome. Patrick, thank you so much. The Pathless comes out on PlayStation 4, 5, Epic Game Store, I believe. Will it be on other PC platforms, or just Epic for now, correct?
Just Epic for now.
Nice.
And yeah, there's an opportunity for more later.
Yeah, and Apple Arcade subscription service. So I guarantee I'm going to play it on Apple Arcade, then want that haptic feedback of PS5. So Patrick, thank you again.
Thank you.
Me and Kyle, thank you guys as always. Please comment, like, and subscribe on our YouTube, DreamHack, and just follow us, follow Patrick and his team. Look out for Pathless. And Kyle, take it away.
And a thank you to our sponsors, Simply Nuck, Bloom Microphone, and Astro Gaming. Thank you for your continued support of our shows.
Take care.